I should have thrown the package away the moment I saw my father's handwriting on the label. That's the part that keeps me awake, not what was inside it, not what I found afterward, not even what my sister admitted to me through a shaking mouth and tear-choked breaths. It's the fact that I recognized his handwriting instantly. My father has been dead for 7 years. And yet the package arrived on a damp Thursday morning in October, addressed to me in thick, slanted blue ink I hadn't seen since the hospital forms the day he died. I wish I could tell you I handled it rationally, that I called the police, that I checked for some elaborate prank. I didn't. I brought it inside. At the time, my life was aggressively ordinary. I was 34, divorced, and living alone in a townhouse just outside the city. I worked remotely as a compliance analyst for a healthcare company, a job so mind-numbing that sometimes I'd stare at spreadsheets and realize 10 minutes had passed without a single coherent thought. My mother lived 2 states away. My younger sister, Claire, lived 20 minutes from me, but might as well have been across the country. We'd grown distant after Dad's death. No major falling out, just the quiet erosion of closeness that happens when grief is handled differently. Claire shut down. Dad's death had been sudden. Officially, it was cardiac arrest. He'd been in good health, active, stubbornly energetic. 58 isn't ancient. He'd gone to bed complaining of indigestion and never woke up. No warning, no goodbyes. Just a phone call at 6:12 a.m. that split my life in two. For years, I replayed the last conversation I'd had with him. We'd argued, something stupid about politics. I'd hung up irritated. That irritation became guilt. Guilt turned into something heavier, something that sat in my chest and never left. So when I saw his handwriting again, slanted slightly to the right, capital letters exaggerated, my name written as E. Jonathan, even though everyone else called me John, it felt like someone had reached inside that old wound and pressed hard. The return address was blank. The postmark was from my own city. That detail didn't register as ominous at first. It just confused me. Inside the box was a single object, a leather-bound journal, dark brown, worn edges, the kind of thing you'd buy at an overpriced bookstore because it makes you feel more interesting than you are. And taped to the inside cover was a note. John, if you're reading this, it means I didn't have time. I'm sorry. Trust no one. Dad, I laughed, not because it was funny, because the alternative, that it was real, was too much. I told myself it was some sick joke. Maybe Claire found something of his and decided to mess with me. Maybe Mom was cleaning out storage and mailed old belongings without explaining. That's what I told myself. But the handwriting in the journal wasn't just similar. It was identical. And the first entry was dated 3 weeks before he died. The journal wasn't a memoir. It wasn't sentimental. It was paranoid. The first page started mid-thought. I've made a mistake. I didn't realize how far it had gone. I thought it was just paperwork, just signatures. But there's money missing, too much, and they're looking for someone to blame. I felt a prickle crawl up my spine. Dad had worked in logistics management for a regional supply company. Boring, stable. He complained about upper management constantly, but never about anything illegal. The next few entries were fragmented. Met with H. He says it's not my problem, but it is. Claire knows something she shouldn't. If anything happens, don't believe the official version. That's where my breathing changed. Claire knows something. The words felt misplaced. Like someone had edited reality and left a glitch. I texted her immediately. Me, did you send me something? Claire, me, a package with Dad's journal. Claire, what are you talking about? There was a pause. Then Claire, that's not funny. Her reaction felt genuine. Too quick, too confused. I didn't respond. Instead, I kept reading. The final entry was dated the night before he died. I confronted him tonight. She denied everything. She denied everything. I don't know who to trust anymore. If I go to the police, it destroys us. If I stay quiet, they'll make sure I can't speak at all. I never should have signed those forms. The page ended mid-sentence. No dramatic closing line. No explanation. Just a period where there shouldn't have been one. I sat there for a long time. The house felt too quiet. My refrigerator hummed. A car passed outside. Life was continuing normally, but something had shifted. I called Mom. She sounded tired when she answered. She always does. Did you ever see Dad keep a journal? I asked. Silence. Why? She asked carefully. Did he? He wrote notes sometimes. Work things? Did he ever seem worried before he died? Another pause. Longer this time. And no, she said. John, what is this about? I almost told her, but something in the note, trust no one, echoed louder than it should have. Nothing, I said. Just thinking about him. When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not grief, suspicion. The next strange thing happened that night. Around 1:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Normally I ignore those. But I was awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the journal entries over and over. I answered. Silence. Hello. Static. Faint. Then a breath. Not exaggerated, not theatrical, just someone breathing on the other end. Who is this? I asked. The breathing stopped. The line clicked dead. I told myself it was a scam call, a wrong number, some insomniac dialing randomly. But at 1:19 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Appeared again. Drop it. That was it. No signature. No explanation. I didn't sleep. By morning, I'd convinced myself it was Claire. Maybe she'd panicked. Maybe she'd found the journal and regretted sending it. But Claire doesn't play games like that. At least she never used to. Sue. I drove to her apartment unannounced. She looked genuinely startled when she opened the door. No makeup. Hair tied back messily. She was holding a coffee mug and wearing one of those oversized sweaters she'd had since college. You look like hell, she said. Did you send me Dad's journal? Her face tightened. I told you. I don't know what you're talking about. I pushed past her into the apartment. John, Claire, there are entries in it. About money, about signing forms, about you. About me? Her voice cracked slightly. Yes. She stared at me. Then she did something that unsettled me more than denial would have. She looked afraid. Let me see it, she said quietly. We sat at her kitchen table. I slid the journal across. She touched it like it might burn her. As she read, her breathing grew uneven. By the time she reached the final entry, her hands were shaking. I never saw this, she whispered. Then why does he say you knew something? I didn't, I swear. Did he ever talk to you? About work? No, but she avoided my eyes when she said it, I noticed. For the first time I noticed. A clarion. Why? You what? You're lying. She stood abruptly, knocking her chair back. I'm not. Do then look at me. She didn't. Instead, she hugged herself, arms tight around her torso. He asked me about a transfer, she said finally. What kind of transfer? Money. Huh. Duh. He asked if I'd seen anything weird on Mom's bank statements. That hit me like a slap. A Mom's? Claire nodded, still not meeting my gaze. He thought she'd moved a large amount somewhere. He thought maybe I'd helped her. Did you? No, but again, too quick. Too defensive. Something wasn't right. Claire, I said slowly, how much money are we talking about? She swallowed. Almost $200,000. That's not a clerical error. That's not misplaced decimal territory. That's deliberate. From where? I asked. From their joint account. When? About a month before he died. And Mom never mentioned it? Claire shook her head. He thought she was hiding something. He thought maybe she'd given it to someone. To who? To who? She hesitated. And in that hesitation, something cold and precise clicked into place in my mind. Claire, I said quietly. Did you need money? Her eyes filled instantly. Hey, did you? I was in trouble, she whispered. The room felt smaller. What kind of trouble? She wiped her face angrily. He invested in something. A startup. It was supposed to be safe. I used some of my savings, then more. Then I took out loans. It collapsed. How much did you lose? Almost everything. And Dad found out. She nodded. He was furious. But not at me. At Mom. Hey, Mom. Alright, because she covered it. The words settled like ash. Mom transferred the money to you, I said. Claire nodded again. He thought she'd been manipulated, that someone pressured her. Oh, were you? No. I asked. Silence filled the space between us. He said he was going to fix it. Claire continued. He said he'd talked to someone at work. He said there were ways to move funds legally to cover losses temporarily. My stomach dropped. Claire, what did he sign? Yeah, I don't know, she said helplessly. He stopped talking to me about it. He said he'd handle it. Handle it. The journal entries. The journal entries. The missing money. The cryptic warning. If I go to the police, it destroys us. If I stay quiet, they'll make sure I can't speak at all. A realization crept in, slow and nauseating. What if his death wasn't natural? I whispered. Claire stared at me like I just shattered something fragile beyond repair. Don't, she said. Oh, but what if don't? Her voice broke. And in that break, I understood something else. She thought about it too. I left her apartment shaking, half from fear, half from anger. From anger. Why hadn't anyone told me? Why had I been left in the dark? Because you would have asked questions. A voice in my head said, and maybe they didn't want questions. That night, I went back to the journal. I read every line again. One entry stood out now in a way it hadn't before. H says they can make it look clean. Paper trail adjusted. No one will notice if it's balanced before audit. H, who is H? I went online and searched the supply company Dad had worked for. One name jumped out. Harold Mercer, Chief Financial Officer. H, I stared at his company photo for a long time. Neatly trimmed gray hair, polished smile. The kind of face that inspires confidence or hides things well. I was about to close the laptop when another thought surfaced. The package had been postmarked in my city. Not Mom's, not the city where Dad had worked. Mine, which meant whoever sent it was here, watching. At 10:43 p.m., there was a knock on my door. 3 slow raps. Not aggressive, not tentative. Measured. My heart slammed against my ribs. I wasn't expecting anyone. I approached the door silently and looked through the peephole. A man stood on my porch. Mid-50s, dark coat, no visible expression. I didn't recognize him. Another knock. A Mr. Carter? He called. My blood ran cold. That was my last name. Yes, I said, keeping the door closed. You believe you received something that wasn't meant for you. His tone was calm, professional. Who are you at? A friend of your father's. My throat tightened. My father is dead. Yes, he said softly. I'm aware. Then you know he can't send packages. A faint pause. May I come in? A no. Silence stretched between us. Then, you don't want to involve yourself in matters that don't concern you. They concern me if they're about my father. Another pause. Please return the journal, he said. Confirmation. He knew exactly what it was. I don't have it. I lied. He exhaled slowly. Mr. Carter, your father made mistakes. Correcting them requires discretion. Did you kill him? The words escaped before I could stop them. The man didn't flinch. That's an extraordinary accusation. Answer me. I'm here to prevent further misunderstandings. My pulse was roaring in my ears. I'm calling the police. On what grounds? He was right. A man asking for a journal isn't a crime. But the threat was there, subtle, controlled. Keep it, he said finally. I read it, but understand something. What? Your father chose silence for a reason. He turned and walked away. I didn't move until his car pulled out of view. And that was the moment I realized something irreversible. This wasn't paranoia. It wasn't grief-induced imagination. Someone powerful enough to intimidate was invested in what I knew. And my father hadn't died peacefully in his sleep. He'd died with secrets. I didn't call the police. I did something worse. I drove to my mother's house the next morning without warning. She looked surprised to see me. John, is everything okay? Did you transfer $200,000 to Claire? Her face drained of color. Where did you hear that? So you did. She closed the door behind me slowly. Yes, she said. Why? Because she's my daughter. And Dad, he was going to ruin everything. How? She sat down heavily. He thought reporting it would clear his conscience. But if he exposed what he'd done to cover it, they would have investigated everything. What did he do? She looked at me then. Really looked, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Resentment. He moved funds, she said. Temporarily. He thought he could balance it before audit. Harold assured him it was safe. And was it? No, my chest tightened. What happened? They needed a fall guy. The words landed with devastating clarity. He refused to take full blame, she continued. He threatened to expose higher-ups, and then he died. She didn't respond. Mom, I whispered. Did you know? Know what? That he was in danger. Her silence answered for her. Did someone threaten him? She pressed her lips together. Yes. A low buzzing filled my ears. Why didn't you tell me? Because you would have done exactly what you're doing now. Which is? Digging. Her voice rose. You think you're uncovering truth? You're tearing open a wound that nearly destroyed us. Destroyed who? I shot back. You or him? Tears spilled down her cheeks. You don't understand. Then explain it. She shook her head. No. I told him to let it go, she whispered. I told him to accept responsibility and move on, but he wouldn't. He said he wouldn't let Claire suffer for a mistake. My breath hitched. He did it for her. I said, yes. Yes. And you covered it. I protected my family. Did you protect him? She didn't answer because the truth was obvious. She hadn't. Here's the twist I wasn't prepared for. The coroner's report I requested it that afternoon. I had never read it in detail before. I'd accepted a cardiac arrest and moved on because that's what grieving families do when they don't want to look deeper. But buried in the toxicology section was something odd. Trace amounts of a sedative, zolpidem, not prescribed to him. Not prescribed to him. At the time, the report had categorized it as non-lethal, possibly taken recreationally, possibly cross-contamination. But combined with cardiac stress, it could suppress breathing. I stared at that line for a long time. My father didn't take sleeping pills, my mother did. I drove back to my mother's house that night. I didn't call first. I didn't give myself time to cool down. She answered the door wearing the same expression she had that morning, tired, guarded. You need to tell me something, I said. John, did you give Dad sleeping pills the night he died? Her face went still. I don't know what you're implying. The toxicology report found zolpidem. That doesn't mean you take it. That doesn't mean I gave it to him. Did you? Her breathing grew shallow. Answer me. You said couldn't sleep, she said finally. My world tilted. So you did. He was pacing all night. He was terrified. He said they were going to audit early. He said Harold had threatened him. And you thought drugging him was the solution? I thought he needed rest. Or silence. The accusation hung between us like a blade. Her eyes flashed. I would never hurt him. But you did. She slapped me. Hard. The sound cracked through the hallway. You think I killed my husband? She demanded. I think you were desperate. Tears streamed down her face. You loved him. And then why didn't you protect him? I was protecting you, she screamed. All of you. Her voice broke into something raw. He said he was going to the police. Do you understand what that would have meant? Claire would have gone to prison. Our savings gone. Our home seized. So you chose him instead. You chose survival. The room felt like it was closing in. Did you know it could kill him? I asked. She hesitated. And in that hesitation, everything shattered. I didn't think it would, she whispered. But you knew it might. Silence. That was the moment of no return. Not when the stranger came to my door. Not when I read the journal, when my mother didn't deny it. You killed him, I said. No, she said weakly. I helped him sleep. You sedated a man under extreme stress with heart issues. He wasn't diagnosed. You knew. Her sobbing filled the space. I didn't mean to, she kept repeating. But intent doesn't erase outcome. And here's the part that still claws at me. The stranger wasn't there to silence me. He was there to ensure I didn't expose the financial scandal that would reopen the investigation. If authorities re-examine the case, they'd find the sedative again. They'd question it. They'd question her. Maybe even Claire. My father had been pressured by his company. But the final act, that had happened in his own bedroom, at the hands of the person who loved him most. I didn't report her. I want you to understand that. I didn't go to the police. And that I didn't go to the police. Because as much as I hated what she'd done, I understood it. Fear makes people monstrous. Fear of losing everything. Fear of watching your child destroyed. Fear of disgrace. Dad had tried to fix Claire's mistake. Mom had tried to fix Dad's rebellion. And in the end, the only one who paid permanently was him. Claire doesn't know about the sedative. I never told her. She lives with enough guilt already. The stranger never returned. The anonymous number stopped texting. The journal remains in my possession. Sometimes I reread it. Sometimes I wonder if Dad knew that night, if he sensed something in the water, something bitter on his tongue, or if he simply trusted her. That's the part that breaks me. Trust. He wrote trust no one. But he still trusted her enough to take what she handed him. I haven't slept properly in months. Every time I close my eyes, I imagine that moment. My father lying in the dark. My mother sitting beside him. A glass of water on the nightstand. A small white pill dissolving. A decision made in love or in terror. Sometimes I pick up my phone and hover over 911. Sometimes I think about exposing the company instead. But then I remember the stranger's calm voice. Your father chose silence for a reason. He chose it to protect us. And now I'm choosing it too. The journal sits in my desk drawer, unfinished, unanswered, a gift I never asked for, an inheritance made of secrets. And every time I look at my mother across a dinner table, watching her hands tremble slightly as she lifts her glass, I see it clearly. The most dangerous betrayals don't come from enemies. They come wrapped in love. Ooh. And sometimes they arrive years later in a box with your dead father's handwriting on it.